Hayat Sarkisi, Flames of Desire. Bayram comes to his hometown in order to make a peace with his close friend Saleh. They agree to engage their children Malek and Karim when they grow up to the age of marriage. Years later, Karim graduates and gets his master's degree in environmental studies. Even though he wants to live in Germany and works as an instructor at the university, he cannot persuade his father. Karim has nothing to do but to return to Istanbul because his father wants to keep his promise to his close friend. Eventually, Karim decides to get engaged to Malek and goes to his hometown in order to ask for Malek's hand in marriage. Meanwhile, Malek's younger sister Hulia activates her plan that no one has taken into account before. She is a passionate girl and desires to get married to Karim since she was a kid. Soon after, Karim and Hulia get married. Immediately after they get married, Karim leaves Hulia behind and goes to Germany in order to continue his ordinary life there. Due to his father, he makes a compulsory marriage, but he does not want to have a real marriage with the women that he has no feelings for. Punesi Paklarkan, Waiting for the Sun. Demet and Zainab are mother and daughter who live a modest life in Golyazi district of Bursa. Things don't go as they hoped at Demet's tailor shop and she'll lose everything she's got in her hand. Meanwhile, a friendly hand extends from Istanbul to Demet. This is her childhood friend, Jail. Jail is the director of Saya College, one of Istanbul's most prestigious colleges. In order for Zeynep to receive a good education and a fresh start, the mother and daughter gather the comb and move to Istanbul despite all Zeynep's objections. Actually, Jail has other plans for them. Jail keeps a secret that will fundamentally change both Demet's life and Zeynep's life. Zeynep, who is a very stubborn, crazy young girl who does not thank anyone, confronts Karam, who is known by the school's owner's son and everyone as a pain in the ass. Karam, who has been made without question, who is spoiled and uses the power of his last name on everyone in the school, bellows his enemy and begins to deal with this mercilessly. The only person who reached out to Zeynep after Karam's persecution of Zeynep is Baris. Where Karam grew up together as brothers, Zeynep will begin to be impressed by Baris' closeness to her, but there is one thing she doesn't know. That is, that Baris falls in love with Melis, their school's most popular daughter. Melis is also the daughter of Sihan, who teaches bodies at school, and he is sadly in love with Karam. As Zeynep tries to adapt to her new life and school, she starts working at Melda's fashion house, the sister of Jail's mother. She expects difficult times and bad surprises, just like her daughter. Demet will face Sihan, the first and only love of his life, years later. With Sihan's re-entry into her life, she will experience the fear of revelation of the lie he told her daughters for years. Adini Sen Koi, Prisoner of Love. After his mother left his father for another man, Omar's perception of women has forever damaged, and he considers them unreliable, untrustworthy, and even dangerous. The only woman he has time for is his beloved sister Aise, for whom he would do anything. Aise herself is a great romantic and wants nothing more than for her brother to be happy and find love for himself. When she falls ill, and with only months to live, Omar understands that the only way for his sister to die happy is for him to be married. He arranges a deal with Zehra, a woman in desperate need of money, that he will pay for what she needs and their marriage shall only last 6 months. Omar, believing Zehra to be nothing but a gold digger, treats her with no affection and expects her simply to fulfill her side of the bargain and do exactly as she says. But in time, he sees another side to her and the two develop unexpected feelings that complicate matters further. Across town, an old friend of Zehra is falling into an unlikely relationship of her own. After taking over a business that she has no idea has ties to the mob, she soon falls foul of the gangsters, while the friend she took over the company from makes her escape. Desperately seeking a way to pay off the criminal gang and get rid of them from her life, destiny intervenes and she meets Kerem, a rich man with the resources to help. Though he is an arrogant bully, in time the two can't deny their feelings for one another and the romantic cycle that starts with Omar and Zehra's inconvenient marriage continues. Son Jaz, The Last Summer. Idealistic public prosecutor Selim receives an offer he cannot refuse from organized crime leader Selçuk, who he sent to prison 8 years ago. Selçuk wants to testify in the trial of prosecutor Selim, which will bring down the entire criminal organization. However, there is only one condition for this. His son Akgun is the bodyguard of Selim. For Akgun, an emotional young man who grew up in the criminal world. Behind his dangerous and troubled appearance, this is a difficult situation to accept. Life tests Salim from a place he did not accept. His wife Kenan, who lives with her children in Izmir, wants a divorce. Prosecutor Kara, who is between his family and his work, is come to take Akgun, who he considers a pain in the ass, to the justice site in Sesame, Izmir. The arrival of Salim's unexpected guest Akgun will upset all the balances of the residents of the site. This wind, which started in the Aegon, will turn into a big storm that will change everyone's life. Yusi Kiss Kardes. Three sisters. Once upon a time in a beautiful yet mysterious country, there lived three sisters named Turkan, Donas and Darya. As a close-knit family, they would dream of a bright future with their father Sadiq and mother Nesreen. Perhaps such an upbringing that was similar to a fairy tale on the pine-scented streets of Ivalik had not prepared them from the grim reality of adulthood. Over time, the sisters discover that life and choices that are accompanied by it are not as easy as they seem. Inconceivable secrets can be hidden even by those who are trusted the most, and horrific illness can lead to the resurrection of the past, which eventually bring them to the question, is there anything in the world that time cannot heal? Kanunsuz Topraklar, Loveless Lands. In 1939, in a town in the coal city of Zonguldak, miner Davut leads a modest life with his siblings and parents. The owner of the mine is a rich man named Pasazade Malik Bey. On a day when it rained a lot because of Mr. Malik, who didn't take the warnings into account, the expected happened and the mine collapsed. David decides to raise his voice against this order. Malik Bey also has an unexpected offer for Dawood. Malik Bey's daughter Gulfam was raised away from the realities of life protected. Over time, Gulfam begins to admire Dawood, whom he sees as an unruly, disobedient and even rude man. Malik Bey is considering marrying his daughter Gulfam to a wealthy mining boss named Ali Gedik. Dui Beni, hear me. Akim and Laila are two young teenagers who are as close as sisters. They live a modest life in a humble neighborhood, but they always envy the rich kids who attend Dogru High School, a secondary school exclusive for the children of wealthy families. One day, a car hits Laila and the culprit flees the crime scene, making his way towards the school and hiding his car in the parking lot. When news spreads that a girl will spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair because of someone from the school, the principal decides to give scholarships to three students from Laila's neighborhood to bury the bad news. Akim, Bekir and Aise are chosen to start their fresh student life in the city's most prestigious school. But they soon understand that their life is actually about to get harder. They will have to fight to survive among the rich children, and they will be surprised to see that the wealthy have very different lives to what they imagine. Ask Laftan Anlamaz. Love doesn't understand words. Hayat is a young girl who lives in Istanbul together with her two friends Asli and Apak. She has a happy life in Istanbul and wants to live there apart from her family. However, upon her father's request, Hayat has to find a good job as soon as possible. Otherwise, she needs to go back to her hometown and start to live with her family again. Hayat knows that she has to do her best on the next job interview for a multinational textile company Sarte. If she is hired by that company, she knows that she can persuade her parents and continue to live in Istanbul. During the interview, Hayat is mistakenly considered as Suna, who is the daughter of the company owner's close friend. In her desperation for the job, Hayat doesn't clear this misunderstanding and acts as if she is Suna and gets the job, becoming the assistant of Murat, the heir of Sate. Hayat doesn't disclose her true identity and starts to work together with Murat. Even though they argue all the time, they become closer and closer. Hayat is impatient, hot-blooded and clumsy, whereas Murat is firm, calm and arrogant. The two have totally different characters but begin to fall in love. In this story, you will explore a romantic comedy between two different characters. Yemen, The Promise. The ethics of two young people with a very different world are happy that they live in compulsory marriage after the promise. Sadness days will be the subject of the series. Rehan is brought to Istanbul by Hikmat Bey from the country because Hikmat is a spoiled son who cannot fit the brain in hand. Hikmat Bey, who has one foot in the pit, wants to marry Rehan, a sit-down girl, and his son Amir and guarantee the future of her disabled daughter Suna. Rehan depends on a promise and wants to get used to her husband Amir. However, Amir has no intention of pursuing this marriage. Rehan and Amir, who are against each other, will be madly in love with each other. Amir, who grew up in a rich family without knowing what responsibility is, replaces his father with Rehan, whom he married without asking. With the order, Rehan is actually as different as black and white. But Fikret decides to marry her irresponsible son Rehan without asking his son. Hikmat Bey brings Rehan, who he considers a trusted person, to entrust her daughter Suna with the natural disabilities after him as a bride to Istanbul. Emir has tried to prove himself to his father since he was a child. His father's forced marriage also him off and is determined to remove his anger at his father from Rehan. Emir vows that the first time he married nervously, he will never touch his wife again. In fact, when Rehan first found out, he would oppose marrying the Emir. However, when he learns that Hikmat, who he loves like his father, has few days left, Rehan agrees to marry Emir as promised to him. Although Rehan accepts this forced marriage and the spoiled Emir, the wise brain shower, Chamida lady, cools her alive, which time the commandment is wise and falls in love with Rehan. But Rehan was very broken in the process. The more Emir pursues Rehan, the more she falls in love with her. Elime Birakma, Don't Let Go of My Hand. Azra, who is studying cooking in America, returns home for her father's birthday. With her brother, Mert, sailed to the unknown world against the world that collapsed in a night with her arrival. Singh, who is the successor of the celeb group, comes to the news that he was kicked out of the school he read in America. The Singh family, and especially the Faride lady, is amazed. Singh's rebellious attitude makes the situation even more difficult. Singh's situation makes him pregnant with great surprises. Miss Faride helps the poor to the poor, does everything for her family, and tries to fill the void created by her son in this way. He always puts his grandkids on top of everything else in his life. However, he doesn't know his family that his retirement has been wasted. Mrs. Faride will now give her final exam with her family. The lives of Azra and Singh intersect with a small coincidence, but this coincidence will be the first spark to connect their lives together.